How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific 3 Eastern, Sundays 3 Pacific 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific 1 Eastern, Sundays with Andrew Zarian, and it is Wednesday here on the show, and you know what that means? Got a lot to talk about. Tonight's Dynamite. I'm going. Heading to the Dynamite show in Everett, and we got a lot announced for the show. 9 segments, in fact. And we'll talk about that here a little bit later on. But you know, it was brought to my attention, which is a great question. Where is Nick Wayne on this show? Nick Wayne was interviewed for Cairo 7 yesterday. Local news, plug the show. Segments up on the internet right now. Our own Sean Garrett from the Brian, Vinny, Granny, Craig, and Sean show helped put that thing together. And he's not listed anywhere here on this program. But we will give you the lineup. We have also got a full lineup for basically everything coming up over the next several weeks. We can get into that later on. But then, of course, the news. More on the Vince McMahon, Janelle Grant back and forth, as well as WWE releasing a statement giving their request to also take this thing to arbitration. So we'll go into all of the details on all of that. We've also got a lot of rumors of late about AEW TV negotiations, new TV deals. And there is a new television show / streaming show, which was announced today, but it had nothing to do with Collision or Dynamite. It's a show with Renee, and we'll talk about that one as well. And we got all the ratings, RJ City and Renee. We got all the ratings from Raw, Collision, Rampage, etc., and the NXT report from last night. So, going to try to get in everything here today. We'll do the best we can. If you want to text us, 425-780-7566. F4WOnline at gmail.com. F4W Online, Threads, Instagram, and Cameo. At Bryan Alvarez on Twitter. We're back in a moment with more Observer Live.
No fish can swim this far upshore.
Yeah.
Shoulders ran like the wind, but he could find no peace.
It is an amazing world we live in.
Why is that?
Golly. The defense.
What's going on?
Leaping to the defense of AEW for not having Nick Wayne here on this show.
Oh,
Oh,
right
you're
now.
getting Bryan Danielson. Hey, listen. I love Bryan Danielson, okay? But let's talk some facts here. Bryan Danielson was born in Aberdeen, okay? Aberdeen is like 2.5 hours away. The first thing that guy did when he wanted to be a wrestler was get out of Washington. He literally went to Texas to train. And then he worked literally everywhere. But you know where he didn't work?
Where?
Anywhere in Washington. He did 0 Washington indies. None whatsoever. Nick, you know the show tonight's in Everett? Nick was born in Everett. He was literally born in the exact same city. We're not talking like, guy from Canada. Canada's his hometown. We're talking the show's in Everett. He was born in Everett. He's lived in Everett his entire life, and virtually all of the work he did for AEW was in the state of Washington. Nowhere on this show tonight.
Well, at least he's doing local
I didn't see
promotion.
Cairo 7 interviewing Bryan Danielson. They interviewed the guy that was from the hometown, Nick Wayne.
Yeah.
So get out of here with your defenses. Get Nick on the show for crying out loud.
Well, you get
And
Nick
don't
on the
even
show.
talk about this Iron Man match. It's
Why?
a work.
Oh.
It's a work. Oh, it was a grueling Iron Man match this weekend. You realize I've had 2 Iron Man matches, and I got up fine the next day and worked out? Like, it's fake, okay? That's hard, but it's not that hard. It's
did
not like
he
he's
have
in the
it with?
hospital.
Who did he have it with?
Joey Janela.
Yeah, it's not like he had it with Lou Thez.
That would probably be easier.
You think so?
I could go an hour with Lou Thez like that.
I don't know.
Joey Janela, I'd have to work harder. Come on. Lou Thez, we'd be on the mat the entire time.
Yeah, but he's
I'd be
gonna
laying
wanna,
there.
like, play with you,
Exchanging
and cheat on ya,
holds.
put you in the sugar. You know.
He ain't putting me in no sugar.
Oh yeah.
Now, tonight we have got Swerve Strickland and Brian Cage, AEW World Title Eliminator. Moxley and Danielson versus Kyle Fletcher and Jeff Cobb. Dax Harwood versus Okada. Young Bucks versus Matt Sydal and Chris Daniels. Tony Storm versus Harley Cameron. Mercedes Moné and Willow Nightingale will have a contract signing. Will Ospreay and Roderick Strong face-to-face. Adam Copeland calls out Malachi Black for Double or Nothing. And it'll be the return of Hook. So, hey, we had a card long in advance.
Yeah.
I think the show's doing well, too. I'd have to check. But,
the Angel of the Winds Arena.
yeah, that's actually surprising. But the shows in Washington always do well. I don't know why people don't... Actually, I know why people don't come back here more.
Why?
Well, because, you got to take all that stuff across the country. Got to get rings here. You got to get everything. It's very, very expensive. They are currently, as of half hour ago, according to WrestleTix, 32.23. So it's all right. That's actually not that great. But they have 653 tickets left, and I'll be there tonight. And by the way, one other thing real quick. So yesterday, they sent me the information, the press information, and the email they sent stated that Rampage was following Dynamite, and that didn't seem to be right. And so I got a hold of him, and it's wrong. The Rampage show is, in fact, with Collision in Portland. So it will just be Dynamite and presumably Ring of Honor tonight. Although I will not be staying till 11 o'clock to watch all the Ring of Honor matches. Just
Are you going to stay to watch any of them?
I'm going to show up when the doors open, so we'll have an hour of Ring of Honor or something before the show. Then I'll stay for the show and stay for a little afterwards, and I got to come home and help put these kids to bed.
Ah, yeah, you got a long day tomorrow coming up.
Yeah, I'll be gone tomorrow, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I am chaperoning a field trip. So, I realize the Vince McMahon story is big.
What is...
You're going to be asking yourselves why I'm going from that to Renee Paquette and RJ City instead.
It's a great transition.
Okay, there's a reason for this. So yesterday, I started hearing from, like, a ton of people. What have you heard about the AEW TV deal? Is it done? I'm like, what? And then, like, other people, and these are people like in AEW. What have you heard about the television deal? Is it done? I was like, huh? And so, what I presume happened is there was confusion because it might have been Fightful. There was somebody said something about there's going to be a new something that was going to be announced. Okay, I realize I'm being vague. I don't have it in front of me.
You can
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead and say Bryan
Okay?
Alvarez reported that.
But, when I heard that, I was like, okay, because I knew what it was. It was the RJ City Renee Paquette show, which will be making its debut on TBS's YouTube channel. 2 Eastern this Friday, AEW Meal and Match. And they will be joined by guests from AEW as they share a meal and watch wrestling. Eddie Kingston's there for the premiere. Crying, barbecue, and punchable faces will be among the topics covered. And so this is, here's the point. So, yes, this is not about a television deal, okay? But it is kind of a television deal because it's through TBS's YouTube channel. It's WMD, YouTube show, et cetera, et cetera.
WBD?
WBD, what'd I say?
WMD.
Well, this show could be a WMD. I don't know. I'll watch it and find out. But anyway, WBD, TBS's YouTube channel. Now, here's the point. So I did figure it out quickly that this was what was going to be announced today, but I did ask a lot of people, and I don't want to say that I think there's going to be news imminently, okay? But I will say there could be news imminently, because right now, nobody knows, and nobody's saying anything. And if Tony knows, he's not telling anybody. But I think that there could be news soon. We're within 6 months of this deal being up, okay? So we got to get some news here quickly. Now, what I do know is Tony apparently wants something very, very specific, okay? And that is he wants some sort of deal that would involve, the television, Collision, Dynamite, Rampage, whatever. But, he also wants to try to make a deal that would involve streaming pay-per-view, which everybody's been rumored was going to happen anyway, like Max, streaming the pay-per-views on Max, and something involving the AEW library. I don't know what he's going to get. I don't know if he'll get all that. I know he wants all of that. And now that the NBA thing has occurred, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can look at that. They may be willing to get this done quick now. Maybe they're not. I don't know. But I do think that he wants to stay with WBD, and I also know that we put out these AEW numbers, and my Twitter. I don't know why I bother, but I do it because it's like part of the job. You have to have a social media presence. So I put the numbers up there, and people go nutty. It's dying, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I could tell you that, from the WBD side, they are not unhappy with these numbers. They are happy with the numbers. Now, I can't say that they're, like, overjoyed. Like, they're, my God, we better pay 3 times what we were paying them to keep them. But they're happy enough that I think that they will re-up. If I had to make a prediction, and this is just speculation, prediction, I'm not reporting anything as fact, I think that they're probably going to get a full package deal with pay-per-views on Max and TV and perhaps something involving the AEW library. I think they're going to get an increase, but I think it's going to be one of those deals where it will be an increase and it will be good for AEW, but it will not be like triple. And so everybody's going to go nuts saying that they're dying and it's horrible and blah, 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 blah. I think we can all agree that's the most likely scenario. Yes?
Probably, yes.
Okay.
I believe that's what it's going to
Unless
be.
they get 10 times what they're getting now, I think people are going to say this is the doom of AEW.
Yeah, and they will not. But what else gets 700,000 viewers every single week for 2 hours? Forget about Rampage and Collision. Just that. Who else is buying pay-per-views anymore? WWEs are all on Peacock. There's really not a whole lot of boxing on. AEW now is expanding to monthly. So there are some things with, if you're WBD, that you look at AEW, and obviously it's going to be a fight over money and, who can make out, with the best deal there. But I have a feeling they're going to stay there, and it's going to continue to be a fruitful relationship.
Back in a moment with more Observer Live.
First thing to say, my champion is black. Ton of hard work went into this. Nothing was guaranteed at all. Nothing was handed out to me. I had to do a lot of inner searching to figure out what I needed to change up, what I needed to improve, and have a lot of humility to be honest with myself and say, yeah, you're not great at here, you're not the best in here, and figure it out and just like work at it. No excuses, because like in my culture where I come from, we're not awarded excuses. Excuses get us nowhere or killed. And I'm going to stay alive. I'm going to keep pushing. I have so many things to fight for, so many people to fight for. And that's what drives me every day. I get up early, I stay late, I make the extra drives, and I stay in the weight room. I stay disciplined. I do the things that a lot of other people don't want to do. Get on the plane 2 days earlier than I got to be there, because that's what's required in this. And I want that to be the standard for being a champion. Like we're not rewarded like rest. We got to be restless, because where AEW is and where we're going, like I want the fans to see how hard we're working. I want the people who aren't fans to see how hard we're working to try to join us and be fans and join this company, because this is special. Two back-to-back amazing pay-per-views, Revolution and Dynasty tonight, and I was back-to-back championship matches in both of them. That's never been done in this company as an African-American man. I don't think it's been done in any company, really, this big. Y'all don't quote me on that. Y'all want the sources, go find them, tell me, tell the world, I don't give a damn. But, like, we're doing something special here, and I'm just proud to be the face of the franchise, because this is a dynasty we're building.
Well, old Vince. Guess we got to talk about this now. Well, let's start with this. WWE siding with Vince in the lawsuit against Janelle Grant. They filed a memorandum on Wednesday in support of his motion to compel arbitration. And they disputed Grant's allegations in the lawsuit. WWE disputes Grant's allegations, but as a threshold matter, this dispute cannot be heard in court because Grant agreed to arbitrate her claims. WWE therefore moves to compel this action to arbitration. Then it would move to private mediation out of public court. All three defendants in the lawsuit, WWE, Vince, and John Laurinaitis, support taking the suit in that direction. WWE wrote, simply put, Grant has no claims actionable in this court because a separation and non-disclosure agreement she signed with McMahon and WWE, the monetary benefits of which she concededly accepted and retained, contains an arbitration provision, unambiguously precludes this court from adjudicating her claims.
Adjudicating.
I hate these big words. And so, yes, this is not surprising at all. Obviously, you know, they want this to go to arbitration as well.
Uh-huh.
So then Vince, his attorneys have filed a new statement of material facts. Because as noted, he wants his side out before this just vanishes. They released a filing arguing that the facts that he submitted are, quote, undisputed in nature, and he reserves the right to introduce additional evidence. According to the filing, McMahon and Grant entered a 3-year relationship that ended in January of 2022. when the relationship ended, a, quote, confidential settlement agreement was agreed to. Grant herself, it says, negotiated the monetary compensation that McMahon offered from $1 million to $3 million before involving their attorneys in the case. January 27, 2022, Grant's attorney sent a revised version of the draft agreement, which included the following language. In the event of any dispute arising under or out of this agreement, its construction, interpretation, application, etc., all parties hereto agree that the sole and exclusive legal method to resolve any and all disputes and or controversies is to commence binding arbitration. So this is a key because, if you look at a lot of the criticism of this entire thing, I've seen many people talk about how, well, this is very, very one-sided. Of course, Vince is going to want a one-sided, deal, et cetera. So his claim, Vince McMahon's claim, is that she is the one that put the arbitration clause in there, and it was not him. And so that's his claim here, which he claims is undisputed. Their attorneys sent that revised draft, that required arbitration. And the agreement also included the following severability provision, which is a lot of words. McMahon agreed to pay Grant $3 million over 4 years through February 1. Both McMahon and Grant signed and dated the agreement January 28, 2022. 10 days later, McMahon issued the first payment of $1 million. So essentially what they're saying, they're going after a lot of the criticism that they hear in order to get these stories out. The first time they gave Vince's side of the story, I think they figured, well, this is the guy's side of the story, and, everyone's going to read it, and they'll say, all right, you know what, Vince, maybe he wasn't in the wrong. Obviously, that didn't happen. So now they've, earlier this week, they sent out another one with more of his side of the story, probably thinking this time, people will see that maybe Vince wasn't, responsible for doing everything he's accused of. And clearly that didn't work either. So now they're adding more, this time being that, two of the big criticisms were, well, he must have done something terrible if he was going to pay her $3 million. And their side is, well, actually, he offered $1 million, and she asked for $3 million, and he said yes. And then, the claim that, well, Vince obviously wrote up an NDA that was, favorable to his side with the arbitration, et cetera. And their argument is, actually, no. She was the one, her attorneys, that demanded if anything happens, it goes to arbitration. So that's the latest. And, they reserve the right to present more evidence, he says. And so we'll wait. Because her attorney, the first time that he, essentially gave his side of the story, they had a response immediately. Because, when he first gave his side, he pointed out, one of the things was she was living with her fiance this entire time. And so they quickly had the response of, well, it wasn't her fiance, it was her ex-fiance. He let her move in, get back on her feet, et cetera, et cetera. After the second one earlier this week, her attorney had no response. And so we'll see if there's any response to this one here over the next couple of days. It is Wednesday, so we still have a few more days left. But that is the latest at this point.
Well, she had the response to post-wrestling, just pointing everybody back to the original filing that we talked about yesterday. And Vince has got a cleanup team, and I would believe that they are going to have stages of rollout to, depending on how motions are filed and when they are, and they're going to have responses to everything. I don't think that they threw stuff out there expecting public opinion to just wave over into his direction. I think it's going to be a staggered approach that they take to filing, firing off shots against Janelle Grant and going after her character. One of the big parts of this, and what's also is going to be very interesting, is a lot of this has to do with the Victims of Trafficking and Violence Protection Act And is the NDA, again, is that covered under that? Because that is what WWE is saying. That is what Vince McMahon is saying, that this NDA is completely binding, and that's why we have to go to arbitration. And it's going to be interesting to see, because that's very important, because there are probably more than Janelle Grant out there that is locked into an NDA, possibly against their wishes, just because they wanted memories to go away because of something that happened with, trafficking or a sex violation or something like that. So it's going to be really interesting legally to see when this thing shakes out, what happens here, and how that has a ripple effect on a lot of other people possibly coming out because they're stuck in the same situation that Vince has with Grant.
Also wanted to mention this. This is actually from Lucha Blog. El Hijo del Santo, who is the son of... At one point, I would say he was the most famous wrestler of all time. But now, given that The Rock is a global, worldwide movie star, and I don't know about this exact moment, but I mean, for years, he was the highest paid actor in all of Hollywood. I mean, it's probably The Rock now. But El Santo, his son, Elio del Santo, is announcing a retirement tour. And he's got a bunch of shows he's been advertising. Cubs fan here writes, Elio del Santo's retirement, not a surprise. Been carefully picking and choosing dates for the last few years and talked about finishing up soon. He is 61, lasted near his peak for a long time, but he and many of his peers seem to have reached a point where it's hard and rare for them to wrestle even close to their peak. He could probably stick around forever unconcerned about his performance, but he's always seemed set on wanting people to remember him a certain way. So he's got at least a 9-show retirement tour. I always love these wrestling retirement tours. I mean, they can stretch on years. But, El Hijo del Santo, absolutely enormous star. And, there have been other second-generation stars that have almost been as big as stars as their parents. Some have eclipsed them, like Randy Orton and Bob Orton. Although, man, Cowboy Bob Orton, let me tell you. But, for every Randy Orton, there's a David Flair. And but Hijo del Santo was a huge, huge star, and his father was such a gigantic star.
Yeah.
That in Mexico they would do, for those of you that are old and remember like People magazine, and they do like here's a list of the 50 most famous Americans. Number 1, Abraham Lincoln. Number 2, whoever, Elvis Presley. Well, they would do these things in Mexico, and like Santo would be like in the top 5, and sometimes he'd be like even higher than that. I mean, like not wrestling, a cultural in the country of Mexico, famous icon. So yeah, I don't even think Rock would be top 5. Actually, now that I think about it,
well, maybe now he would. It'd
be Santo, Ricky Dozan, and Rock. I think would be the 3. Probably most famous professional wrestlers of all time in their cultures.
Yeah. And, it was amazing. He wasn't really a great wrestler, but his star power was incredible, and how he carried himself. Your Cubs saying, he wants to be real careful on how he's done things at the end of his career, and that's absolutely been the case. He has been a great example of image over everything, kind of like Mil Mascaras in a way, where he wasn't a great worker. He had some good matches with certain people, but he's not known for his work as much as just being a star. And that's, Santo with the Full Throttle Coca-Cola energy drink deal that he got there for a while. So he's always been able to parlay his success well. And I know we got NXT coming up at the break. Netflix has announced they are running live NFL games on Christmas Day. That is a test run in some ways for what's going to happen with Raw coming up.
Oh my God, they better figure it out. They'll have a week afterwards.
Well, they better get it right for football.
Back in a moment, Observer Live.
Green Hill. Hello. He's escaped. Do you know which way he was headed? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Shoulders. He's been here.
It's Vinny's straitjacket.
We're getting close.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Hey, do you want Lance to be on Observer Live tomorrow?
Sure.
All right, I think we're going to do that.
All right.
I love handling this stuff live on the air.
Yeah, well, it's a tradition.
His schedule is he's supposed to be on the show today, but I've got to head to Dynamite, so it might be cutting it kind of close. But I can't be here tomorrow, so I will have him do the show with you tomorrow.
You had to bring your gear?
No, are you kidding me? Stop. Stop.
Are you?
I'm texting Lance.
He didn't say no, guys.
I'm not bringing my gear. Are you kidding me?
Why not? Nick Wayne might need a match.
I can't believe that people still ask this question after all of these years.
What?
If I'm ever going to wrestle for AEW or WWE.
Yeah.
From literally the day I started the newsletter in 1995, I absolutely refused to ever work for any national promotion because how could I do this job if I worked for WWE or WCW or whatever? And I wasn't an idiot. I knew I was small. What, I got a couple of good years if I was lucky, and then what? This I could do till when I'm 100, and you guys think that's funny, but Granny's 95 still doing the show.
Yeah.
When I'm 100 years old, I'm still gonna be here and going, whatever the newfangled thing is, yelling about something.
Old man yelling at the
I'll
cloud,
be yelling
literally.
at the clouds. Yeah.
Mama Wayne's gonna kick your tail tonight, isn't she?
No, of course not. It's fake.
Oh, is it?
Of course.
No heat there?
All right. Oh, man.
Yes.
We'll get to that later.
Oh.
I don't
what
want to
do we
stir
got
up
here?
any problems.
Should
Raw
I-
last night, Monday night. Lowest total
no.
audience number since the end of football season, but it did hold up well in 18 to 49 against both the NBA and the NHL playoffs. 1.59 viewers and a .53. Main competition was the NBA. The Boston Celtics and Cleveland Cavaliers game on TNT and True did 3.24 million viewers and a 1.01 in 18 to 49. And .39 on True. A .39 on True TV.
Yeah, well,
Holy smokes.
that's, you know what? That's where a meal and a match can end up and fill some time there. Get a bunch of those under their belt, run like, one of those weekend marathons leading up to a pay-per-view, run one of those on True TV. I could see that happening.
And then, by the way, it's always funny. It's like, okay, we're gonna air this on TNT and True TV. Who are the people that choose to watch it on True?
Well, it depends.
You think there'll be less traffic?
Well, it's like ESPN, and I don't know because I haven't seen a game, but if they offer a unique commentary perspective or extra stats or something, because I've watched SEC football, I'll watch it on, somewhere where they'll actually have different camera views or they'll have the radio announcers or something like that. So they may have some gimmick on there that does that.
So we had 1.64 million first hour, 1.64 million second hour, and a 1.48 million third hour. Collision on Saturday.
Hey, listen, it's not the worst idea for Dynamite to do that one time if they're going to have a big show and try to coordinate it at a time where they can have True TV and maybe do RJ City and Renee Paquette or do some sort of thing where they have a Manning cast scenario or something like that. Worse ideas.
And then Collision. I saw people, they saw that Raw number. They're like, oh, well, let's talk about this Collision number. 378,000 viewers. Down 40% from when the show aired 2 weeks ago. Lowest audience Collision has drawn since January 27th. The lowest the show has ever done on a day when there was not a PLE. 0.12 in 18 to 49. And Rampage did 342,000, down 20%, and a .11 in 18 to 49. So also competition from the NBA and the NHL and MLB. So all the shows had a lot of competition, and they all suffered. That's what actually happened.
Is that right?
For those of you wondering. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Where did it finish?
What?
14th? What was the where did this show actually finish out at?
You talking about
Those
Collision?
two shows. Well, yeah, Collision and
I don't have the placings here.
okay.
So I don't know. Well, Raw was fourth on cable and beat every network show for the night in 18 to 49. But I don't have anything for...
It's one thing to get beat up by the NBA. That's going to happen. It's another thing to get beat up so bad by the NHL. Wrestling usually holds its own pretty well. In fact, usually does better numbers against the NHL. And I don't know if there were any deciding games or not, but, it's one thing, again, to be third or fourth behind heavy competition. It's another thing to be so far down low. It's like, you can make excuses, but those numbers speak for themselves.
And then I just wanted to mention this because this is one of the many things we've talked about with a lot of different people. There's always people that vanish from AEW, and then it's like, oh, well, that person's hurt or that person's, whatever. Britt Baker's a fine example. Well, now there's Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks vanished after the March 30th Collision. He's just been gone. And no explanation. No idea where he's been for 2 months.
Brother, stay that way and then reappear in NXT, please.
And, everybody, well, he might have got hurt in that match. Well, he didn't get hurt. And his reaction to being asked about Double or Nothing is, I hope so. But I really don't know. Every time I always predict something to go some way, it doesn't go that way. I have no clue. It's just a very interesting time. I wish I was on Dynamite. Wish I was on Dynasty. I wish I was on these things. But I think at a certain point, for my own sanity, I can't go too crazy about it because the proof is in my work and in my effort that I've constantly given. I'm not hurt, he said. Even that night I said I'm not hurt. I was being cautious, was never put on the injury list. I have no answers. People ask me all the time, where are you? I don't know. I have no clue. It's not up to me. It does suck, obviously, to not be on TV, but the support and people online and people who send me messages is very sweet, endearing, and encouraging. So there's another one. I don't know why he's not on TV.
No,
he's just not.
No, didn't talk greasy or anything like that about AEW, just stating facts. Why aren't you on TV? I don't know.
All right, a couple of notes from NXT. We'll do the full report tomorrow. I like this show way better than last week. It was much better. So, we did have a follow-up.
Oh, there was a lot here.
We had a follow-up to that, the one that made me lose my mind. Ava is yelling at Tony D and the crew. And she goes, "You cannot kidnap referees. That tag match doesn't count. Where are they?" Tony says, "I don't know. Are you really taking me out of this Heritage Cup match?" She's being unfair to him by taking him out of a match because he kidnapped people who still have not been seen. And so Rizzo explains, "Don't worry, Tony. She can't take you out of that match. It's already been advertised. Can't false advertise."
And he has a lawyer behind him to say, you don't want to get sued.
So Ava says, "Fine, the match is on, but I am fining you $20,000. He's already got the money because he actually gave her like $30,000 extra. But he says, "No funny business tonight." So we had a bunch of matches to determine who gets into the women's ladder match.
Again, Brian, that's the thing that I could see getting very extra on CW. It's just situations and stories like that where, and again, Ava the actress as well too, responding to Rizzo the over-the-top actress is something else.
We had Sol Ruka and Izzy Dame, and Sol won with the Soul Snatcher is what it's called, and this match was why am I spending so much time on this?
I don't know.
Okay, listen. They're both new and they're both learning, okay? The bad news is there was a spot at the finish where they both totally forgot what they were doing, and time absolutely stood still, okay? Other than that, I mean, I will say that even though it was choreographed from start to finish, they are getting better. It didn't look like that. Like,
Yes,
they were able to, like, okay, I hit my move. Now I'm going to walk around a little bit. I'm going to look at the people, whatever. It's not just robotically move, 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 move. They had a little music. And then
Yes,
Soul
they did.
won
Very little.
with the Soul Snatcher.
Which is they're going to figure out ways for her to hit that out of 752 different. It's going to be the new, like, RKO out of nowhere sort of thing. It's going to be the Snatcher out of nowhere because she's going to hit it. Already even last night, that was even really ridiculous in the way that they did it, but obviously that's the way they're going with her.
So Noam Dar was attacked by somebody. We don't know who, but he thinks it could be Trick. And Lash is sticking up for Trick. And Noam is getting more and more angry. Why are you sticking up for this guy? So they had Ivy Nile and Lash Legend, and Miss Jackson interfered. Lash got the win. Lash is moving on to the ladder match. Then Javon Evans was asked if he attacked Noam Dar because they were scheduled to have a match. And he says, of course not. Trick didn't either.
It's not his energy.
But I'm going to go out there and get bouncy tonight. He's going to face Oro Mensah. And I can't say that this was like a great match, but I thought these guys did a hell of a job. Javon Evans and Oro Mensah.
Well matched.
Oro Mensah is actually really good. He's really good. And Javon Evans is he's new. He's 20 years old, but he has a lot of cool stuff. And I thought they had a really impressive match. Javon beat him with the big tornado off the top. And I want to see more at Oro Mensah. Like, we see glimpses of him being like a good wrestler. We see glimpses of him being a good promo. But he's like a guy in the background with Noam Dar. So I would like them to eventually split him off and let him try something on his own. We had that long segment, excruciatingly long, with Wesley, Obafemi, Ivar, and Josh Briggs. And there's going to be a three-way, and the winner gets Oba for the North American title. We had a show-long segment. God, I have nothing against the guy personally, but this Ridge Holland character at NXT, this is the worst thing they've done in years, okay? Somebody made a great point about storytelling. Storytelling is supposed to be something happens, and as a result of that, something else happens. And as a result of that, something else happens, okay? This Ridge Holland storyline is like when Paisley writes her journal every night. I went to school. I went to swimming. I had dinner. We played at the top of the hill with a ball. That ain't a story. You're listing off 4 things that happened.
Daddy yelled at mommy.
This Ridge Holland thing, bro, it's like, God, nothing. What is happening with Ridge Holland and Chase U?
He has no friends.
I don't
except
get
Chase
it.
U.
And you know what? I don't want to hear anybody arguing this one because he teamed with Riley Osborne against the Good Brothers. And like the Good Brothers and Riley, I mean, they're having a good match. They're getting the heat on Riley and everything. And Riley's doing this great job selling. And finally, I swear on a stack of Bibles as high as his house, he tags Ridge, and this place is dead silent. It was the coldest hot tag I've ever seen in my life. Nobody gets it. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows why they should care. Nobody does care. Back in a moment, Observer Live.
Friends of mine, seeing like friends like my friend Kofi, like that's the last 5 years was like probably one of the most biggest inspirational things you've ever seen, not just in Black history, but just wrestling history, period. And it's like, that's motivating, that's inspiring, and that makes me want to, like, I want to do that for the next generation, you know? And like, I don't want to just do it once, I want to do it multiple times, you know? And the fact that I was able to somewhat try to recreate a feeling like that in just a small amount of time, not like 20 years later, not, 15, 30, 40 years later, but like that close in time, that's progress in my opinion, in my mind, it's not just me, it's a team. Like Nana's a part of that. Like my people, my family, all these people right here, none of this happens without any of these guys together. All this is like pushing me, like pulling something out of me that I didn't know I had. Like Tony believing in me, putting me in the opportunity. He didn't give me anything. He gave me an opportunity to make something out of it. And it was up to me to do the work. And that should go for anybody, not just any Black person, any person, period. Right. You're never given, like some people, I hate the feeling of like hearing on social media, something like, oh, they weren't given a chance. I'm like, no, they were given chances. What did they do with those chances? You're given chances, whether they big or small, but you got to make something out of that shit. I was given small opportunities, company after company after company, time and promotion, and like, it didn't matter. I found a way to make something out of it, and I pushed forward, and I made it uniquely me. It was Swerve doing it. It wasn't another wrestler doing it. It was Swerve doing it. Like, that's the only way to progress in this game. And like, if you listen to my podcast, my man Montez is right over here. We say this shit every freaking episode. We just had Adam Copeland on today saying the same shit we do every episode, every week. Every like, we put out that content because it's not just content of us talking. These are tools. We want to give tools to the people of the next generation. Go out and listen to that, because it's not just us saying it. It's people that have been there and done it that are saying the same shit that I'm saying. Maybe if it's not coming from my mouth, maybe it's coming from our guest's mouth. Maybe that's going to change someone else's life. Maybe that's going to get them to get up and be inspired to move forward and do something that they were missing. Something as small as they were missing a little nugget, and they go and listen to these people that have done it, been successful in all acts of just entertainment, all acts of the world. They can go out there and find something, and it's a tool to go and move and possibly do something like this,
I do have one other point from NXT.
What's that?
I mentioned this when I saw Charlie Dempsey in Bloodsport, and that is that it was one thing 30 years ago, okay? But in 2024, like, so many people are training. MVP just got his black belt. You aware of that?
It's awesome.
Baron Corbin got his purple belt. He's competing. And, Charlie Dempsey, he's got the shooter gimmick, but, like, I don't think he's ever trained a day in his life. And the problem with that is, the match was fine, but Tony D is legit. That guy's a real shooter. And the first fall of this Heritage Cup match, dude, this guy was ruining Charlie Dempsey. I mean, God, just the suplexes and the takedowns and it was just like...
No one is mightier than the American amateur wrestler, period, point blank. I don't care what you say, Jiu-Jitsu
No,
boy.
get out of here. Get out of here.
It's a fact, buddy.
Nah. Ask like entire wrestling
Ask any-
teams
no,
what happened when they
no,
faced
no.
Hickson. Went through them
yeah?
one at a time. One at a time.
I don't want to hear
One
it.
at a time. Just like
Yeah,
that.
Well, let's see you and
But
Kyle
anyway,
Sanderson go at it, buddy.
The point is, Charlie, I think, needs to just like find a place in Florida, go in there and train twice a week.
Well,
I mean, he wasn't even doing a triangle right. He was,
have Damon show him some things.
Anybody? Well, I mean, you can show him. I'm talking like some grappling. If you're going to be
Damon
doing
can
arm
do
bars
some
and
grappling.
triangles,
Well.
you've got to learn how to do a real arm bar and triangle.
Well.
That's all That's all I got to say.
I want to hear what you have to say about Carly Bright coming up here on Brian and Vinny. Old Light Bright.
We're going to wrap it up, everybody. Want to thank y'all.
She's broken up locker room brawls, Brian.
I did die when that was her reasoning for getting a big match. I've broken up locker room brawls. Anyway, we'll talk to you next time, Wrestling Observer Live.